Hi everyone, I'm Henry DeVries. Welcome to Rainmaker Confidential. And I'm a columnist for Forbes.com. I cover business development. And I'm very pleased to have several leaders in the field with me today to talk on that subject. On a side note, I also run a company called Indie Books International. We work with professionals and consultants who want to attract high-paying clients by marketing with a book and a speech. So we're going to go around the horn. The first question I want to know is, with the current pandemic, what are you decreasing when it comes to business development? What are you cutting back on? And let's start with Jean and Emily and then go to Chad. Jean, welcome.
Great. Hi. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jean Freeman. I'm the principal and CEO of ZMBZ. ZMBZ is the largest female-owned advertising agency in America. And from a business development standpoint, I wouldn't say that we're necessarily decreasing that line item next year. I would say it's really just a change of strategy. Business travel obviously is being deeply affected. We're a business that relies a lot on relationships, so face-to-face is important. So we're really learning to navigate this online Zoom reality that we're in and figuring that for our clients. And I think really how we're advising our clients from a business development standpoint is this is now a time to really look at new types of targets and assessing your media spend of the viability of reaching new consumers, because again, consumer behavior is changing so drastically.
Great. Thanks, Jean. Emily, please introduce yourself and then what are you decreasing?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Borders. I'm one of the co-founders and principals of Highwire PR. We are an integrated communications agency focusing on the technology and healthcare industries. And, completely echo those sentiments around a decrease is not happening. I think now is the time to really look at opportunities in the market, and a fully funded and aggressive approach to business development is a big part of that. Clearly, we're not getting on a plane anytime, and our industry, both healthcare and technology, has been driven a lot by events that are not happening in any of the ways they did before. So we're really exploring how to connect virtually with our prospects, how we make the most of these virtual events, and we're helping our clients navigate that in the same way. So we've really shifted where you would normally be in person and have a number of meetings and really segment a market at a marquee industry event. We're thinking about and advising our clients, how do we do that around these virtual activations? And that means getting in there early, offering insights, building those personal and individual connections, not just at the day of the virtual event, but leading up to and around and then after those virtual activations. And that will likely be a focus through at least the next year.
Thanks, Emily. Chad, please introduce yourself and then what are you decreasing?
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Chad Hetherington. I'm the founder and CEO of The Stable. The Stable is a fully integrated commerce agency. We bring brick and mortar e-commerce and brand and product services together under one roof. We represent about 450 consumer brands across 4 different offices and employ 100 and something people now. I think in terms of decreasing, I echo the others on this call today. It's really for us just about the fact that we can't travel, so we've decreased significantly there. We're very much a relationship and people-led business, and when you're working with that an amount of clients, obviously we generally have seen a significant drop in just general T&E. So no dinners, no travel. We're not going to trade shows like Expo West or CES, which was just moved to, I think, virtual next year. So all of those things we've just seen drop considerably in the business in terms of that kind of one-on-one relationship. So it's been interesting to watch, even in our business on the retail side, when you're selling, thousands of products in retail stores every day, there's no in-person line review meetings anymore with buyers. It's all done virtually now. So even not just on our side, but our client side, just significant kind of, again, reduction as it relates to just T&E in general. And I think for us also, we've just been kind of more cautious on random sponsorships. As a 5.5-year-old company, you're always trying to promote your brand and your company around the place. So we've just been a lot more strategic as it relates to where we put our sponsorship dollars in terms of our overall company business development strategy as well, and not just kind of, flick a few hundred, a few thousand here for the hell of it. It's, we're just not doing that sort of stuff anymore. And so that's limited our costs and spending as well there.
Thanks. Now I'd like to go to Faizi, Derek, and Lisa from the technology world. Faizi, so great to see you. Please introduce yourself and what are you cutting back on?
Right. My name is Faizi Fatehi, and I'm the CEO of the biggest small software company in the world. And we ignite the cloud. We empower, demystify, and decipher the cloud journey, take it into the next level. What we are decreasing is experimental projects. As an innovative company with over 100 patents in the area of cloud, we have to experiment. That feeds our innovation. But because of the pandemic, we are more stringent on, does this experiment have a line of sight to the objectives and the goals of the company? So we become more, how can I say it, more disciplined in terms of approving experimental projects. So that's one area besides travel and everything else that everybody said that we are decreasing, but we make them more laser sharp and focused in having a line of sight to the results.
Faizi, I know you speak a lot. You're going to be speaking online for the Executive Next Practices Institute. What are you speaking on when you speak right now?
Right. So basically, we, as part of igniting the cloud and taking it to the next level, we, for the last 15 years, have been heads down to develop an operating system for SaaS, software as a service. The same way that databases help people build applications more easily, operating systems like Windows help people build their applications. A lot of people take them for granted, but people who have a software product, they have to create all the SaaS operations, the as a service operations themselves by hand. Imagine for one simple application, you have to design and develop your own database. It slows you down. We have created that SaaS operating system. So if you have a simple software, you plug it into our solution and voila, your solution acts like Salesforce.com overnight. And what I'll be speaking at that event, which I have the pleasure of having the CIO of Microsoft, Executive Vice President of Oracle, from Accenture and so on board with the Executive Next Practices, is what is coming next, what's around the corner, and that is called software-defined SaaS. So instead of programming it for 5 years, you just define it in 5 hours, voila. Your solution is available to be transactable, available. A lot of people think that would be the first ever disruption in the history of software industry. So that's the topic of August 13th at 9 a.m. Pacific with Scott Hamilton and ENP, Enterprise Next Practices.
If that sounded like me letting Faizi plug something, you're absolutely correct. That was. Thank you, Faizi. Moving on to Derek. Derek, please introduce yourself and what are you decreasing?
Yeah, good morning, Henry and everybody. My name is Derek Danziger, and I'm the president of Katz & Associates. We are a statewide public relations and strategic communications firm in California, focusing primarily on major government and infrastructure work, as well as the real estate and development industry. And we have offices in San Diego, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. So I will echo everything everybody has already said on travel going away, the notion about sponsorships and being very discriminatory about where we're putting our money and our resources. So those are obvious ones we're decreasing. I would say the interesting thing about the decrease is one of the main things that our company does is work with communities on major projects that require a ton of community engagement and outreach. And so while we are decreasing the number of personal meetings, obviously, that we can't have. Many of these projects are still moving forward, so it's necessitated us being creative and increasing our way to use Zoom and every other platform available to stimulate community engagement and outreach and make people feel that their voice in a process is still available when it's not necessarily in person. And so I think that would be one of the major things. And then the other thing we're decreasing is more on just on the budget side. We fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, we signed a 5-year lease for our office space last June for a space that normally has 25 people in our San Diego office that at best now has 2 people maybe working out of there. So with that and our other locations, we are evaluating what we can and can't do to either downsize, because we've proven that we've been successful working from home. I don't know that the long-term that will always be the case, but I think like everybody, we're having to reassess the decrease in office space and what that'll mean for commercial real estate going forward too. So.
Yes, you brought a little tear to my eye as I'm paying rent tomorrow for space that I have not by law been able to be in for several months. So thanks, Derek. Lisa, and then we'll go to Tom and Scott.
Hi, I'm Lisa Abelinsky. I run a full-service digital consulting agency called 3 Dog Right, and we work with clients who want to accelerate their revenue and take market share using digital means. And we've been kind of like a pig in mud right now because of everything that's been going on in the digital space. Where we have decreased, and I'm going to be, echoing what both Chad and Derek have said about looking at our spend and what we've been spending on and being a little more discerning. And we've actually taken it a next level, and we're doing this with our clients as well, which has been very eye-opening for them. Are you tying what you're doing to a revenue dollar? And if you can't do that, or if you're struggling to do that, then it might not be the right choice for you. I actually had a call earlier today, and the question was, well, we've always done this, so shouldn't we just continue to do it? Always done it is not a business strategy, so don't do that. Look at what you're doing and look at why you're doing it. There may be a story attached to it that you just don't realize, and you're in a habit of doing things rather than it actually provides value to you today. Because as we know, our digital paradigm has completely shifted, and up is down, right is left, black is white. No one knows what's happening. So that's my first thought. My second is something that I'm doing internally, especially with myself. I've always been the believer that when I'm doing videos or doing live events where I send my videography team, my production team, that I physically have to be there. And I'm recognizing that maybe that's a story that I have in my head, and I can still be there from a virtual standpoint, but maybe I don't have to physically be at that location, which reduces the cost to my client. So that's the other thing that I'm doing, that I'm actually looking at what I'm doing that may be adding costs to my clients.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Lisa, somebody asked me how we were doing, and I said, well, we're no Zoom or Amazon, but we're doing fine. Now I'm going to say we're no Zoom, Amazon, or 3 Dog Right, but we're doing fine. So thank you for that. Well, Tom, and then we'll go to Scott.
Hi, I'm Tom Searcy, founder of Hunt Big Sales. We are I would have to say, the best kept, best secret, which is the worst problem to have, unfortunately. We're a boutique shop that focuses on helping companies between $10 million and $250 million in size grow through very, very large account selling and large customer selling. And you asked the question about what are we decreasing? We're decreasing customization. We have always been a one-off, one mechanism, one design per customer approach. We found out that there's some great commonalities that need to be solved. We have a program that starts on Monday, and it's called How to Sell in Place. And everybody in the on this session is asking themselves the question or teaching the issue and et cetera, how to sell in place. Much of what's out there in the marketplace is focused on how to retain and develop the relationships that are in place. Acquiring new relationships and developing those kinds of customers, very deeply challenged. I think that we can develop relationships with our current customers and enrich them the way that we've got, doing the things that we've got. I mean, this is a great time for developing those relationships that you've already got. It is a challenging time for getting new customers. And so how to sell in place is about how to get customers and bigger customers faster. What if you could take a sales cycle that would normally be 12 to 14 weeks in length, and because you were selling in place, even with new customers you've never met, you could get that to cut by 40%. There's actually a methodology to do that. We didn't really realize it, forgive me for extending it, but we didn't really realize that we were great at it. We just had been selling customers for about 12 years, and average customer size was initial engagement of $100,000 up to $2 million customers. And we never met them. We never saw them until we walked in. Our joke was, if I see you, I'm getting a check. So we didn't say that to everybody. I'm just, inside, that was the joke. It's not as funny if you tell the customer, oh, good, you paid me to be here. So thank you for the courtesy laughs that I got out of that. So I didn't get courtesy laughs out of her. So anyway, so we're decreasing customization. Customization is really well done in kind of all of us together collaborating in a room and working through. The customization stuff is kind of cool that way. There's some chemistry that's hard to replicate through this Zoom. Jean and Emily and I and Chad were talking about, how do we go build something new together? The Lego set of ideas. Very challenging. Now start that with a new customer. That customization, I gotta get paid to do that. And then the relationship does drive over time, right? At least, you develop that over time, and we start off with a very different approach to how you do that. So anyway, I'm very excited because it launches Monday. And we've only been spending about 14 or 15 weeks developing it. So, yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
So can I just ask, Tom, are you focusing then on more of the digital sales aspect? Because I got to tell you, I am in love with you right now. That is absolutely what these large clients need. You do all this marketing effort, and then you hand it over to the salespeople to close it.
Right.
And they're not used to this paradigm, and they just struggle, and it's no fault of theirs. Like I said, everything has changed. And one of my big clients, I'm working on doing a small digital sales training, but I'm going to be introducing you to them because they absolutely need this. They absolutely need this. Why go for a little fish if you can get a massive marlin that jumps into your boat?
Or perhaps a whale.
I would say,
Tom's the author of Whale Hunting, bestseller.
Whale Hunting. And by the way, Henry, did you get all that? Did you record all that? Because I need that.
I'm writing this down, Tom. I'm writing this down.
I want to speak because it seems to be relevant to most of the people on here. I do want to speak to it, but I don't want to interrupt Scott. So, but Henry, yeah. I'm going to take the talking stick here in a minute. I'm sorry.
You'll get it again. You'll get it again. So let's go to Scott. Scott, please introduce yourself and tell us what's on the decrease.
Thanks. My name's Scott Love. I produce a podcast called the Rainmaking Podcast, which is targeted towards those in client development. I interview experts like Henry DeVries. That's going to be on one of our shows soon, where we talk about how do you get more business, better business, and all the business from your clients. And I like producing that because it gives me insight into what I do for my core business. I own a company called the Attorney Search Group. I recruit partners and do law firm mergers for international law firms, and I work nationally. And the thing that's on the decrease, just like everybody else, I couldn't believe how much I was spending on planes, nice dinners, and fancy hotels. And I only wish I was losing the weight I thought I would lose by not doing that. But you know, it's a crisis. Got to keep buying the Oreos, so gotta deal with it. And things that are on a decrease, when the crisis started, because during the last crisis, when our entire economic system itself was the crisis, I was able to find opportunities through that. During 9/11, I found opportunities through that. And I knew that when a big pile of manure is plopped in front of you, there's a pony around here somewhere. There's going to be some sort of solution. And I found it. It was a change in my strategy. I decreased the number of clients that I recruit for. Before, I was dealing with maybe about 24, 30 different firms. I've met with over 50 law firms in their offices. And I decreased that. I was working primarily in Washington and New York, but as a crisis hit,
We might be getting low bandwidth from Scott.
As soon as he said when the crisis hit, that was
yeah, exactly.
I know, and I'm
Very
desperate to
dramatic
know what
freeze
he's
frame.
doing.
It looks great.
Tell us. Well, I'm going to move it along. Gene, we're going to start the next round with you. Oh, Scott, you're back.
I'm sorry about that. I must have had something really good.
Yeah.
That,
Your last word we got was, and when the crisis hit, I thought it was like an episode of Murder, She Wrote. You know, the
Tune in
murder
next
is,
week.
Yeah,
As we cut
that's
to
a pretty
commercial.
old reference there. Lisa, I'll explain that show to you later. Okay, Scott, if you could wrap it up, I want to go to the next round on what we're increasing.
Basically, what I did, I decreased the number of clients I was working with and expanded geographically into other markets with the same cadre of clients that I'm working with. I'm only working with about 8 clients, but in other major markets. So I've grown deeper to those firms. In the last week, I had 3 different Zoom meetings with 3 different chairmen of big law firms. So I found that because of the crisis, I've actually grown closer to some of my clients.
Thanks. I know from Lisa's standpoint, this crisis has gotten her in to see, you know, the top person at some big companies because of what's going on, and maybe she'll share some of that on her talking stick turn. We're going to go the same round. This is our last round, so if you could tell me what you're increasing and what's your go-to strategy for the next 6 months, that would be great. Gene, would you start us off, please?
Well, I get the benefit of talking first because I'm sure Chad and Emily are going to pop in with the same thoughts that we're kind of going through at CNBC. But so new business is the lifeblood of any agency. Like it's part of what it is. And I think the fact of we have to change how we sell. It really has to change drastically. We're not in rooms. So it's investing in, we've had trainers come in to work with our staff on how to present, get appropriate lighting, setting up backgrounds so they're not distracting. When you're going through the cadence of a presentation and you're going from video to back to the presentation and having the tech not be a distraction. So it's a new way of working, and with Google announcing that they're going to be working from home to mid part of 2021, like this is our reality. So people have been resistant to it, but I think now it's really embracing it. So that's step number 1, getting people just more comfortable and the appropriate training in order to do it. And what's the best form of new business is retention. So then putting in those high touch moments, as people have been talking about, it's really it's easier to get access to our senior clients. They are available. So rather than me spending 3 days going to the East Coast for a 2-hour meeting, I really am being able to have those high level, check-ins. And then also there is tremendous opportunity from a business development standpoint. And I think it's up to the strategy of how you implement it. We are a mid-sized agency, 75 to 100 people. So we're in that mid-level size, but a big agency and a mid-size and a small, it's all the same right now. literally everyone is pitching from their kitchen tables. So if you have that perspective that the business is out there, it's just the appropriate types of strategy, then that's the way to go. And I would say for the next 6 months, what we're really focusing on is retaining our current clients and getting them through this crisis, and then prioritizing inbound versus outbound. With inbound, there is some reason why they're coming to you initially. So that's a lot warmer of a way to engage from a business standpoint in that way. So it will be interesting. I think, there are so many companies that thrive during crisis periods, and the companies that are innovative enough in order to see this as an opportunity, I think the sky's the limit for them.
Gene, thanks so much for that. Thanks for that point. When I was running a 40-person ad agency, I met with the head of a very large ad agency, and he said, Henry, my life and your life is the same thing. It's just, you just add a 0 to the end. I still have to do business. I still have to make the calls. And when your friend stiffed you on an account, what did it cost? I said, 20,000. He said, yeah, when my friend stiffed me, it was 200,000. It's the same work. We just add a 0. Thanks for that. Emily.
Yeah, and Gene, you're absolutely right. I'm picking up on everything you're putting down. It's very similar. And in some ways, they're in this world that we really have seen so much change, and business models are being turned upside down, and the way you work with each other is completely different. I think a few things about business development that have always been true are even brought into more sharp focus. And for us, it is absolutely, Gene, picking up on that relationships with existing clients and those partners you have. I think the kind of maybe formality that you had before, even with close client partners, has really dissolved as we start to really connect and have empathy for each other in new ways. And that opens up so many more interesting conversations around what's your business now? What's happening at the board level? What are the hard conversations? What are you not able to break through on? And where can we come in and truly be a partner in helping you? And that's really opened up opportunities for us with key clients and some really strategic client expansions in ways I wouldn't have predicted, in March, but that's a strategy that we're now really opening up and looking for opportunities to have those in-depth kind of no filter, let's put everything on the table conversations with our client partners. And it's really unlocking a lot of great opportunities. And the other strategy that we're going to be continually investing in is that same kind of relationship building and network building with some of the bigger aspirational brands and clients that we want to connect with. And, that is a version of outbound. It's not maybe the same strategy with outbound we'd had before, because it's really leading with relationships, insight, and playing for the long game. They may not be making decisions now about where they're putting their budgets or what partners they're working with, but we feel strongly that now's the time to build those relationships, offer that insight, and we will cycle through this. And having that framework of new relationships led by insight and great dialogue, I think will help us set up for more expansion with additional brands as we work through this together.
Thank you, Emily. As you're speaking, I'm realizing this is a new business seminar, but really it's a group therapy session in disguise. So I'm getting encouragement from all of you. Thank you. Chad, you're up.
Yeah, I think in terms of increases, so our agency's grown from 60 odd people to over 100 in the last 4 or 5 months or so, mainly through an acquisition that we made in April. So as we look at the business today, I think BD just continues to be an integral part of our success and our growth. And so we continue to look at new ways of how to elevate BD. Like I said earlier, we can't travel, we can't do all that thing right now. So we have to, we have to look at other ways in which we're going to, generate new business. And a lot of that is spent between people and technology. So we're going to increase more hires this year and have more BD folks joining the team. because of the recent acquisition that we did, we actually implemented a new BD role, which we're calling kind of cross-platform sales. So as we work between both agencies, and become one integrated firm, how do we have, there's obviously a few hundred clients that they represent. There's a few hundred clients we represent. How can we go deeper with those clients versus just like open it up and have, just another bunch of new clients. So we've got to look at it not just from new clients, but how do we go deeper as well? And that comes with, I think, more people, better process, things like that. So we're seeing a lot of success there now. I think it's like 35% of our total clients are cross-platform, where they're using us for one or more services. So it's definitely proving that those types of new roles that we're creating are generating more business for the company, and obviously more business for the client as well. On the tech side, we've invested in a bunch of different things, but just general data, how can we be more smart? How can we identify different trends out there? How can we look into which companies are doing really well? You guys are getting feeds every day in your Instagram that are showing you new products that are being born on Instagram. So, how can we find the next Theragun that, is really being at everyone's feed, and help that launch that brand at, a Target or Walmart or Amazon, and help them build their business. So just having kind of back-end tools to help us identify those trends, to get in front of those brands. We've invested in a wonderful platform called PitchBook, which even just kind of shows us which brands are out there raising capital right now. So who just raised their Series A round for $8 million and, is the next best cool brand that we should be partnered with. Definitely a worthwhile investment for us on the BD side. And then also too, because we are at home and we're not stuck in like internal meetings all day, which I just frown upon anyway. It's allowing myself and the BD team to kind of sit around and say, how can we package up how we sell the company differently? What new ways can we, we've got 4 or 5, 6 different offerings. How can we package them up differently and sell them in a new way? Can we offer unique turnkey ways in which to work with new clients versus it just being like, a list of services, here, go. So just being a bit more thoughtful now on the business in terms of how we're investing more in BD. So it's all seeming to working really well right now, even though we are from home.
Thanks, Chad. What if there is a hell and it's just a series of internal staff meetings? So, a thought for the day.
No, I can't. No.
It's a Dilbert comic, right?
Yeah, that's a Dilbert comic, yeah. Faisy, and then, yeah.
I was going to say, people are asking me to do no meeting Fridays internally, and I just can't say yes. It's too hard for me to do that, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Faisy, and then Derek?
Yeah, working in so many companies, including in Silicon Valley at HP, hired from college, I figured out the word business development and BD is used in so many different ways in different companies. They may not refer to the same thing, but generally indirect sales as opposed to direct sales, like you're in the sales force as opposed to you're a BD person, means you're developing indirect channels and partnerships. I was in a meeting like 10 years ago, maybe even more, with this gentleman who introduced himself as the 11th employee of Apple. And the person who started the business development function at Apple, I forgot his name, I have to go look. And he told me something that has become a mantra for me. He said, Faisy, direct sales is convincing someone to buy. Indirect sales is convincing someone to sell. And it's a lot more sophisticated to convince someone else to sell as opposed to you go and convince the end customer to buy. And being a BD person and building my career on business development, alliances, and so on, I loved it. Especially that his point was you got to be more sophisticated to convince others to sell as opposed to. So I use that to my advantage very selectively. So using it here from a business development perspective, developing the art and the science of interdependencies in the world, that we cannot be just developing a product and selling it. Even the development of the product may require a lot of partnerships, complementing products and services as in addition to developing your sales channels and a strategy. So where does that business development BD fit? I believe you got to define it for your own company and go with your own definition. We are leveraging and doubling down and further emphasizing on the art and the science of managing interdependencies, which is the partnership and so on, and also using it for brand building for the company. A lot of people just look at it just for sales and numbers. We also look at it as brand building. For example, we last year had an announcement, the biggest small software company in the world with Hewlett Packard and Microsoft, the power of three. So the power of three was factually describing our three-way partnership, but also it was the biggest branding and awareness building for Courant, which nobody knows who we are, but they know HP and Microsoft. So multiple benefits from the act of cultivating the partnership, going deeper as opposed to going wider.
Okay, thanks. To my next four panelists, we need to go to lightning round now. Try to do it in 60 seconds. So Derek, what are you increasing? What's your go-to strategy?
Okay, I'll go through this really quickly in a list. I'm a good fast talker. So as we've all said, we're in the relationship business. This is all about relationships. So I'm just going to list off things we're doing. We're doing more professional development for our team. We're investing in our own team, putting them through programs like eCornell and other things where while they're at home, they can be doing online coursework and learning about things. As a leader in my company and as somebody doing a lot of the BD, I'm trying to become a better listener. I think all of us on this call, as the salespeople and the faces of our companies, we're good at talking about things all the time, but we probably all need to take time to just sit and listen because we're so anxious to get to the next thing. So I think listening to what your clients, your customers are saying. I'm spending a lot more time getting involved in boards and organizations. I'm on the United Way board. I'm on a veterans board. I do speaking about crisis communications on things. So more of just using my time to help in a good, positive way, that if that turns into new business, great. If not, it's just feeling good about what I'm doing. More professional client check-ins, as others have alluded to. Having my kids not come in the door has been a great thing this last 40 minutes, but it happens a lot. The kids, the cat, the dog, you name it. But I think that's humanized all of us in our relationships with our clients. So it's made things a lot easier. And then the last two things I'll just say are I do Friday updates to our staff now every week that they've really said that they appreciate, where I'm trying to give them a sort of a further look into decisions that are being made by the company that sometimes otherwise only the management team was talking about, and they feel more involved in the company. And I think that helps our bottom line at the end of the day too. And then e-blasts and things that we are sending out as a company, we're very focused on it not being salesy, but being focused on just thought leadership and how we can help people in the industry or adjust. I will just end with this. I do a lot of crisis communication, media training and other things for people and clients. And I noted for the first time that one of the things I never trained about was the potential of a global pandemic happening. It was the one thing that wasn't on my crisis list, and I need to adjust that now. So
thank you. Thank you. Lisa, lightning round.
So I will answer both those questions with one answer. We are doing more one-on-one engagement, targeting larger companies, because it's just as easy to land a large company as a small one. I learned that from Tom. And when I interact with them, I go to the highest level that I can, but I'm always engaging with providing value. So the ones that I talk to are ones that I'm like, I have an idea where you could do this, or have you thought of this, or I experienced this with your company and I think this solution would fix this problem, and I give it away. And you'd be surprised at the number of people that respond back going, holy, thank you for actually helping me be successful and do my job better. If you focus on value when you contact someone and what you can do for them, and not even think about what you might get in return, to me, that's the best business model you can have, because it will come back to you.
Karma.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
And leaders always lead. And I think you told me that. Leaders always lead.
That was Drill Sergeant Henry. You don't always have to listen to him. Tom and Scott, we got 3 minutes left.
Which one?
Tom first, then Scott.
Okay. So here's the thing I'd ask people to take away, and that is the simple comment is doubt what you know. I've been listening to everyone who knows something about relationships, knows something about connecting, knows something about developing them and growing them and penetrating and getting more budget and all the rest of that stuff. And I would encourage you to doubt that. Because all it does is it gives you an opportunity to go dig through and reconfirm the things that you truly know, right? And there's certain things that you know that are no longer true because you knew them in a different period of time under a different set of circumstances. They weren't untrue during that window of time, they're untrue now. So I would encourage people to just doubt what you know. And when we go out on the How to Sell in Place, we're spending our time talking to people and saying, you defined relationships, and I think Scott talked about it, by the two core things was chemistry and frequency. And then you'd add a third one, which would be relevance. So I'd see you an awful lot, and we develop a relationship of trust. And so that frequency and that came together. And then all of that wound up being about the relevance of your issue and problem. And if I took all that and said, okay, fine, that's not going to be the tools you get to use. You have to use a different set of tools to get to that. Then that's where you doubt what you know. You're like, oh, I know how relationships get built. And my answer is, yes, you did.
Thank you, Tom. Scott, you got 1 minute to bring us home.
This is great. Thanks, because I get to learn. I'm like the last who gets to putt. I got to go to school. And thank you for this, Henry. So I'd say the thing I'm increasing is also my go-to business development strategy. And I kind of lucked out in figuring this out during the crisis, is increasing content marketing. In my niche, I recruit partners. When they go from firm A to firm B, their business has to go with them. It's a business development matrix. And so I've really studied that. And that's when I realized I had an epiphany. I said, I'm going to put content out there that can benefit them so that even if they don't want to move when I call them, they'll listen to my shows 2 a week of hearing from experts like Henry DeVries, thought leaders on client development. I'm just an action leader. I like to do it. I don't like to teach it. So I get to get people that know what they're talking about in terms of client development and kind of dangle that little hook, and they keep listening to it. And over, when it's time for them to move, hopefully they'll call me. But nonetheless, it also gave me credibility, not necessarily in getting the call from someone, but once I talk to them and they see that I produce this. Another go-to business development strategy, somebody mentioned it earlier, I sit on a board of a trade association within my industry. I was able to get 3 quotes from the crisis, 2 from the American Lawyer, 1 from the Wall Street Journal. Because of that, lady from the Wall Street Journal called. I'm calling you from the Wall Street Journal. No, my subscription automatically debits every month on my credit card. Thank you. No, I want to interview you. I'm okay. Well, I've got time for you now.
Yeah.
And so I think by finding ways to showcase my expertise in a way that say that I'm the authority, it reinforces people's decision that they work with me and it's a good decision, and I get more referrals from that. I've had more referrals now and from lawyers who never refer people to their friends because they're risk averse. So I've learned how to earn the trust of the most guarded, untrusting, and risk averse professionals in the world. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate this. Your information is giving hope to all those people out there who are really struggling through this. And hope is an important thing to share. Everything I know is from R&D, rob and duplicating. So I'm robbing and duplicating your ideas and sharing them. Thank you for participating today. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Henry. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.